with the UNEP as Senior Regional Advisor in Nature Conservation for the Asia-Pacific region. He has published numerous articles and 2 books, Beyond the Tiger and the Indian Black Buck, which is the subject of his PhD thesis. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of And then we have Dr. S.P. Yadav, the force behind, the man behind Project Tiger. He is the Additional Director General Project Tiger and Member Secretary NTCA. India's tiger population is estimated at 3,925 with an annual growth rate at 6.1%. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Dr. S.P. Yadav. Mr. Praveen Garg, IAS retired, former Special Secretary and Financial Advisor in the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, India, and currently the President of Mobius Foundation. And we have Ms. Sejal Bora, Dr. Sejal Bora, Program Director, WWF, and the Chair of the WWF International Tiger Advisory Group. And our moderator for today, Mr. Abhilash Khandekar. Abhilash ji is a veteran political and environmental journalist of the country. He is a member of the MP Wildlife Board and of the Central Zoo Authority. He has also authored many books. And now I'd like to invite Chairman Mobius Foundation, Mr. Pradeep Burman, to please address the audience.
Thank you, Jessica. I managed to come up without the stick. I have distinguished panelists here. One of them is older than I am, without a stick. So I feel that I'm handicapped with the stick. One of these days I'll get rid of it. So yes, my best of honor. Initiated this particular talk, which is called Tiger Talk. So if you get a drawer over here, don't be surprised. A bit more about the Mobius Foundation. You've all been through what is the Delhi floods, and you all know the big amount of Europe on fire. Europe is heated up more than anything else, it's on fire. And you see the forest fires which happened last year in Siberia, in Australia, in Spain, and everything. All this is due to human actions which are destroying the planet. And therefore, I took it upon myself to do something for the sustainability of this planet. But one of the biggest problems on sustainability is the increase in the population. I'm hearing the sound. Okay. Anyway. Put it a little back. I mustn't be in front. Anyway, I put on the chairman, so they are also welcome all the panelists, distinguished panelists who are here to really talk about a very important thing. What is important about the tiger? I remember before when the British were in charge, I think King George came here and he must have been taken for a tiger shoot. It was a very, very big thing. They came here they were taken for a tiger shoot, and that was the big thing about India, is a tiger shoot. So today we are in the process of conservation of the tiger. Why is that important? It's very important because we're destroying the ecosystem, there's an eco balance which is there, which we're destroying that, and we have to do something to prevent that in the long run. One of the first things is we talk about is climate change, but the conservation of wetlands, the conservation of tigers is as important. It's not that one is absent from the other. All of them are important, and each person has to take his own task and take his own direction as to what he is to do. We have also with us the Climate Reality Project. Mr. Kamal Mikil is here, and he's heading that project, and we are looking at climate change, how to do it, and we do it mainly through education and making green schools. Mr. Kamal Mikil is sitting here. But our talk today is on Tiger Talk and what is the importance of Tiger Talk. What is it that Mobius Foundation wants to do, and how do you want to go about doing it? We have decided to look at education and look at population, because I feel that population is a very, very important thing. We are taking up the space of wildlife with human habitat. And that is very important, which nobody mentions about the population because of something which happened during Sanjay Gandhi's time. Now, it is very important for us to see that population also is stabilized by empowering women, and this is one of the main objectives of the Mobius Foundation besides education. We have a program on us called the 100 School Program, which we are taking 100 girls' schools to educate them and to be able to empower them and be able for them to get jobs in the whole country. So that's a big project which we are taking. Besides this, we are looking at various things about something we did on plastic recycling, something we did on waste management, something we are doing for compressed gobar gas, which we are doing. So like these, we are taking small things everywhere. However, coming back to the main subject, while we are having this Tiger Talk, it is to bring awareness about tiger conservation and the importance of tiger conservation. So with this, I will end my talk and thank all the panelists for coming here, for taking their time to come here and share what is important about tiger conservation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So I now request you to please felicitate our guests of honor, our panelists. So we'll start with our chief guest, M.K. Ranjit Singh ji. Dr. S.P. Yadav. So we'd like to present you with a certificate of appreciation for your dedicated service and commitment to Project Tiger. Thank you so much, sir. Sejal Bora. Next we have Mr. Abhilash Khandekar. Thank you, sir, for coming all the way from Bhopal to moderate this event. Then Mr. Garg. But you're a panelist, sir. Thank you, sir. I now request the moderator, Mr. Abhilash Khandekar, to please take over the panel discussion. Thank you.
So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Obvious Foundation, I welcome you all for this very interesting dialogue around tiger. And this roaring dialogue, the tiger talk, is not something which is very ordinary, because the time it is taking place is very historic in the eyes of everyone who is associated with tiger conservation or otherwise also, because as we all know, India has 3,682 tigers with a range of 3,167 to 3,925. So give a big hand to the Tiger Conservation Authority, and Mr. Yadav is here, because we have not seen this number in the last many decades. Perhaps Dr. Nitsi may have seen. Perhaps Ranjit Singh ji has seen more tigers in his lifetime than many of us who are sitting here. And the pack that leads this tiger census after the latest estimations have been announced is Madhya Pradesh, from where Mr. Ranjit Singh also comes. Mr. S.P. Yadav also has some links to Madhya Pradesh. I also come from Madhya Pradesh and also the president of Obvious Foundation. So there are a number of people who are who have links to Madhya Pradesh, and Madhya Pradesh has now, as you may be knowing, the highest number of tigers, that is 785. So Madhya Pradesh once again becomes the tiger state, and none other than Mr. Ranjit Singh knows how tigers have been conserved over a period of last 50 years. The year 2023 marks 50 years of tiger conservation, in the sense that Project Tiger was launched 50 years ago, and now we have got about 70% of the global population of tigers, and in spite of, like Mr. Burman said, in spite of the growing human population, if the number of tigers is increasing, it is a great sign for the conservation efforts being done by various organizations and the government. And organizations like WWF, which is being represented here by Shejulji. Recently, when the National Tiger Conservation Authority team came to Bhopal for their own meeting and visiting the areas which have many urban tigers. This is a new terminology, urban tigers. Bhopal is the only capital city which has more than 18 tigers within the municipal limits. So that is again another certificate for the conservation efforts done by various agencies and people. So when Mr. Ravi Singh, the CEO of WWF India, came to Bhopal and went around, I was also with him, to the areas where tigers are living in Bhopal, very close to the city, just about 3 kilometers from my home in Charibli, or maybe the environment office that Mr. Yadav often visits. Just about 3 or 4 kilometers we have got tigers in Bhopal. So the DFO asked for some support, and asked Ravi Singh ji if he could help us, in the sense the patrolling vehicles are not there. There are certain things which are required, which government at times is not in a position to help. So within 2 months, the WWF has sent a patrolling vehicle to the Bhopal range, the forest range, And this is how what I am trying to tell is that while the government, the Ministry of Forest and Environment, the NTCA and various state governments are doing their bit to conserve tigers, to conserve forests, to conserve natural heritage, there are other organizations like WWF, Bombay Natural Resources Society and Mobile Foundation also, who are doing a great deal in conserving what we are seeing today. So, this evening we will be talking a lot about tigers and beyond, and this engaging talk will start with, if I may request Ranjit Singh sir, that while today we are having large number of tigers, the census has been recently published and announced. When 50 years ago when the tiger project was launched, there was a danger that tigers would be completely wiped out of the country. So would you like to give some kind of a sense to this August gathering about how the project Tiger was started in 1972-73? Ranjit Singh sir. Ranjit Singh sir was perhaps around that time in 72-73 because the Wildlife Protection Act, which he was an architect in writing that act, and Project Tiger was launched in 1973. So it is exactly 50 years. So I am requesting Ranjit Singh sir to give a flashback and a sense of what exactly happened during those days 50 years ago. Sir.
Thank you very much, Abhirashji. It's such a pleasure and so innovating to be amongst all of you. One small correction. Though officially Project Tiger was launched on April Fool's Day, 1st of April, 73. That is when Kailash Nathla took over. But before that, the project had started in 72 itself. And so I handled it. We were there in the accident committee next day, and Kailash was also there, but he was then working in the Nehru Foundation. So officially it was launched in 72, but the work had started in 73. Work was started in 72. Now, to give a very brief background, because I'm sure the others, my colleagues here, would like to talk about the current situation, but since I've been asked about the past, the scenario was very grim. There was no Wildlife Protection Act. There were only state laws, and there were hunting laws. There was no other act of setting up a parks and sanctuary. The earlier one of Ghana, of Corbett, was set up on special acts, even Colombo. Okay. Tiger hunting was allowed, forest and clearance was allowed. There was no Forest Conservation Act. It came about in 1980. And unfortunately, the easiest land to get was forest land. There was a Grow More Food campaign. There were forests being excised and opened out for human settlements also. And they were the first one for the Samadhans under any new irrigation project. You see the graph of the forest loss before Forest Conservation Act came about and thereafter. So, and I must say this, having attended so many conferences, wildlife conferences, which is practically too much of talking, but it's very good fun. But that 69 conference of the IUCN here was perhaps the most important conference, wildlife conference that I have ever attended, and certainly had. It was where the wildlife enthusiasts, like Billy Arvind Singh, like Kailash, and there were others, and so many forest officers. And I was also an invitee, and we all spoke up. And IUCN was involved, of course. And Mrs. Gandhi came and opened it, and that's where her interest started. And then the IUCN and World Wildlife Fund, and actually Dylan Ripley of announced a $1 million to start the Project Tiger. Operation Tiger, they called it, which Kailash rightly changed to Project Tiger. And that was the starting point. $1 billion at that time was a lot of money. And then we got down to the task. And I would like to say this, and I'd like to pay my tribute to those. We did not have money. We had the Barasingha enclosure in Kana was built by a donation from my friend. And we had to beg around for money. We didn't have money for conservation, but we had to beg. And men matter more than money. Men of conviction, men who put conservation before their own person and their professional. That is now the most important criteria of those who put their commitment and their dedication before their own person. I salute those people. And I can say this, that there are just 6 or 7 of them who are responsible for this. They were my colleagues, and I will cherish their memories. If one is still alive, I will not name them now. But they were there, and they were forest officers. There were other officers who helped, but those 6 or 7 forest officers are far more. Then the whole sequence project was set into motion. I am very quick because the criteria, very interestingly, and this is, I think, the point, was that what would be those that would be pushed by the project, not necessarily those that had the maximum tigers. Because that was, another additional coverage added to what is already happening. Kaziranga was one. Kaziranga was already well protected because of the rhinoceros. And Kaziranga had more tigers than Manas. But Manas was silly because Manas could be upgraded. And why would, and this is what I would like to emphasize, and this is what we, I think, slightly losing sight of. To utilize the project to upgrade the park, and by upgrading the park to save something far more valuable than the tiger itself, the habitat of the tiger. I am going to do a non-conformist, and I keep saying this, that what is more valuable than the tiger itself is the habitat of the tiger. You have read huge accounts of the slaughter of tigers that took place. But the tigers came back. Why? Because the prey was there and the habitat. And I know of princes and of British who shot 30 tigers and 2 years later they were back again in the same place. So this animal has the propensity to re-establish if given the chance, if we facilitate it. And therefore, the habitat is far more important. Because you can have the habitat without the tiger, you cannot have a wild tiger, you can have them in safari, but not in the wild. Put the habitat number 1, and therefore the 2 criteria which are extremely important, and which I would like to harp on, is that we use the tiger to achieve a greater goal than saving the tiger himself, and that should be our objective. To save the great natural heritage of this great country. As a stepping stone, to me the tiger is a means to an end, not an end in itself. That means it's a part of that, not an end in itself. And we've used that project to save other habitats. The snow leopard to save the magnificent Himalayas. And all the fauna that goes with it. I'll just digress for a minute. That The Himalayas today, Himalayas and Trans-Himalayas, are the greatest repository of mountain fauna in the whole world. I've just completely spoken the mountain animals of the world. There are 62 species and over 30 on both sides of the Himalayas, one half of the whole world species. 6,000 running kilometers has 50% of it. The greatest mountain range in the world from this is the Andes. 2 mountain species. I have seen 6 species of mountain mammals in 1 hour and 14 hours of walking. Himalaya. Use the small effort to protect that and to prevent the melting of the snows. The other thing is the importance of saving the habitat, and I'll again take 1 minute. At the time of setting up of Palamau, we had only one place, one park for stay. And for Jharkhand we selected Palamau. And I went there when we had established this. It was in a famine. And one very intrepid DFO, Mohawk Mishra, did a wonderful thing, which we should all keep into mind. He took the water measurements at the time of the setting up of Palamau. He divided the streams into 4 categories. Those that were totally monsoonal and stopped flowing at the end of September, those that stopped flowing at the end of December, those that stopped flowing at the end of March, and those that were perennial. And in 3 months, 3 years of protection, in 3 years only. Those streams that were flowing at the end of September became operational till the end of December. December one went on to March, and the March one went on to. If that water, if the potable water was a gift of that part, that gift to the people and the nation born for the 6 blessed tigers that will survive. And I love that. That is the value of the park. The park is more important than the tigers.
So
and this realization
to be here, sir. I would like you to be here.
And I would like to get this. I'm sorry.
I'll come back to you, sir, again with that. Because you touched a very important subject of preserving the habitats. So I would like to know from, because we have heard a little bit of the past and we are now coming to the present, and I would like to ask Dr. Yadav, how has the journey from 9 tiger reserves to the 53 tiger reserves now, and what were the challenges in each cycle that we have been hearing about, and the number of tigers growing? So we all know that numbers are there are a large number of tiger reserves, but there are several challenges also before the NTCA, and also how the tigers are counted. I would like you to give some idea of those, because the number has been only 4 days ago, it has been released per park and per state. So over to you, sir.
Thank you, Abhilashi. Good evening to all. At the outset, I would like to thank Movies Foundation and especially Praveen Garg sir for inviting me to this August gathering and panel discussion. As rightly pointed out by Ranjit Singh Saab, the Project Tiger was launched in 1973. We have celebrated 50 years of Project Tiger. It started with 9 reserves with roughly around 18,000 square kilometers. But now we have 53 tiger reserves in 18 of our states, covering more than 75,700 square kilometers. Focus has always been to protect the habitat and bring in all potential tiger habitats under the coverage of Project Tiger. Once any national park and sanctuary which is notified as a tiger reserve, it gets highest degree of protection under the Wildlife Protection Act. As you are aware, when we talk of tiger reserve, there is a core area which has to be maintained as inviolate, completely with the objective of conservation of tigers. No developmental activities are allowed in inviolate core area. It is surrounded by buffer area, which is multi-use area where habitation is possible and multi-stakeholder, multi-use area. And then the corridors are important. Tigers cannot survive in islands of protected area. They need corridor connectivity. So on these principles, we have gone ahead and we tried to bring as much of as possible under the coverage of Project Tiger and declared them as a tiger reserves. Right now there are 53 tiger reserves, but more are coming. They have already approved, given in principle approval in Rajasthan, Dholpur, Karauli, Kumbhalgarh in principal approval, and then Rani Durgavati and Nauradehi sanctuary in Madhya Pradesh, that also. So many potential such habitats they are in the pipeline of declaring as a tiger reserves. Once they are declared as a tiger reserve, then they get a lot of. The tiger population has been growing consistently. The average 6.1% growth we are registering. Tiger is still endangered globally. The population is declining. If you see the other countries, in 2010, there are 30 tiger countries in the world, and all political heads, the head of the states, they met in St. Petersburg, and they all committed. First time any such species-focused summit was organized, and all countries they committed to double the population of tigers by the end of 2022. But despite so much of attention, many countries like Laos, like Vietnam, like Cambodia, they lost all their tigers. Because poaching is still the biggest threat. Not because there are demands in our country. Our country, the Wildlife Protection Act engineered by K. Ranjit Singh sir is very tough, very strict laws are there. But because demand exists in some consumer countries. And I don't hesitate in naming them like China, Vietnam, Cambodia or Tibet, all body parts of tigers are still used. In Chinese pharmacopoeia, these body parts are used. So this leads poaching in our country. So poaching is the biggest threat, and then habitat fragmentation. We are a developing country. We need development, we need roads, we need employment, we need economic growth. So all developmental activities also like mining and all, which are ecologically unsustainable, they impact the habitat at the moment. So all these reasons are there. And tiger population, while it's doing good in protected area and tiger reserves, but not doing so good outside. I would say that there are two types of tigers, rich tiger and poor tiger, or tiger above poverty line and tiger below poverty line. Tigers which are inside tiger reserves, they get a lot of funding support from us under the centrally sponsored scheme of Project Tiger. And there is a lot of care. They directly come under the LTCA and a lot of monitoring is there. But tigers which are outside protected area, there the degree of protection is little less. And these tigers are most vulnerable. I call them, there is much less investment for their conservation, and these are the below poverty line of tigers. And tigers, as you know, by the nature, when they grow up from the cubs, they get adulthood, they establish their own territory, and they try to move out, they try to establish their own territory. If they fight with the existing territorial tigers, they settle there. But if they lose the battle, they move out from the tiger reserves. And when they move out, they often enter into the human-dominated landscapes, and there the conflict takes place. If they succeed, it's well and good. We are talking of the Bhopal tigers, the urban tigers, so-called. It's amazing to see that how tigers are adaptable in urban landscape, and probably it's the only place where tigers are living, and there has been hardly any human-wildlife negative interaction in the Bhopal because of excellent monitoring mechanism in the place. So that's a beautiful examples. There are certain tiger towns, I would say, like Savai Madhopur or Thekadi in Periyar or Ramnagar adjoining Karve or Mandla or Tala near Bandhavgarh, where the economy is mostly dependent upon tiger tourism, directly or indirectly. So there are many positive aspects of tiger conservation, and all these community support by the government, support by the civil society institutions like WWF, they have led to the tiger conservation. Tiger is now considered as a symbol of wildlife conservation in our country. We are the global leaders, more than 75% tigers we have, and most of the countries they follow, they have started following our model of conservation. While India, Russia, Bhutan, Nepal and Indonesia, they have shown increasing number of tigers, but all other countries is declining. So at globally, yes, it is still a challenge, but thanks to all support from communities, all the stakeholders, we are doing good in tiger conservation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Yadav. I'll come back to you again about the methodology adopted in counting tigers, because I read in one of your documents that large number of photographs, something in the lakhs, over 4 lakhs or 5 lakh photographs have been, so you can. So for the people, those who have not been to tiger reserve, national parks, they would like to understand from you how tigers are counted.
So till 2002, the tigers were counted based on their footprints. We call it pug marks. So pug mark, and that was census. Census with complete head count, which was completely unscientific. And when we count based on the footmarks, if the foot is placed on sandy soil or hard soil or rocky surface, the footmarks used to be different. So this was probably, it's a good measurement of presence and absence of the tiger, but counting was always like underestimation or overestimation. When we lost all tigers in Sariska in 2005, that was a shock to the nation. And we never expected that this would happen to our country. When we lost, there was a serious concern by the government of India. One tiger task force was appointed.
And we had also lost tigers from Patna.
Later on.
Later, yeah.
2005 we lost in Sariska,
Right.
and that crisis was converted into an opportunity. A task force was appointed by the government of India, and based on the recommendation of this task force, the Wildlife Protection Act was amended. National Tiger Conservation Authority was created. Wildlife Crime Control Bureau was created based on this recommendation. And then real changes started taking place. In 2008, we rightly pointed out, we lost tigers in Patna. And we were the first in the world to have done successful tiger reproduction. First in Sariska and now Patna. Now both are thriving with tigers. So up to 2002, we used to count tigers based on the footmarks, but this Tiger Task Force recommended that there should be scientific methodology. You know the tiger and stripes, there are beautiful photographs, and stripes are like our fingerprints. They never change. So now basically kind of Aadhaar, biometric details of tigers are collected. Their photographs are taken. A whole country is divided into 2 square kilometer of grids. A pair of camera is placed. These cameras are automatic. When the tiger moves in front of the camera, their photographs are taken. We collect this photograph, and other than tigers also we collect. So this 2018-22 estimation was phenomenal. The scale was like more than 4.5 crores photograph of tiger and other animals were collected. And out of this, more than 97,000 photographs of tiger. So with these camera traps, and this camera trapping or wildlife monitoring exercise is one of the largest in the world. No country has this kind of capacity or ever done this kind of survey for any single species. So more than 97,000 photographs of tigers were collected. And these are, because number is so large, we cannot, humanly it's possible to do the analyze and differentiate them. So we use extract and compare software to zero down tiger numbers. Then they are also physically, manually, they are distinguished, and we establish unique tiger identities. In each photographed tiger, more than 3,080 unique tigers have been identified. Their biometric details, means stripe pattern, coding each of them, they are classified, and scientifically their data is stored. And based on this statistical extrapolation, the statistical model, the tiger numbers is right, but the minimum number is, and then there is upper limit, because now we are not doing census. Census is head count, which is always doubtful. So there is a range between minimum population and maximum and then the average number. So now our methodology is established. It is scientific, based on scientific methods, and the methodology has been published in the peer-reviewed journal and accepted worldwide. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I wanted to ask you an intermediate question.
Besides this, in the low-density tiger reserves like Namdha Park, Northeast, we collect scats of tigers, and we do DNA analysis. And based on DNA analysis also, we come to the unique tigers and tiger numbers. So it's a combination of camera trapping and DNA analysis of scats.
So you mean to say that the not only conservation of tiger as a science has grown by leaps and bounds over the years, but also the methodology of accuracy, the accuracy of the number has also improved, isn't it? Because during the Pugmarks method, when it was being implemented before 2002, there was generally a sense that the number was much more, but the tigers could not be counted properly.
Yes, absolutely right. And in fact, the Pugmark method always resulted in underestimation or overestimation. You never knew what is the truth. Like when Panna happened, officially there was a report that went through Pugmark system that there are tigers. But we knew that there are no tigers.
I was on that Panna committee and we were told that there were 35 tigers, and when we went inside and camped there for 3-4 days, we did not get even to see a single Pugmark of a tiger. And so there was some kind of contradiction in the figures as well as what is the ground reality. But you hinted at very important thing about the poor tigers. That means that you may not have been wanting to say that there is the budgetary constraint. So I would like to ask Praveen Garji, who has been a chartered accountant and has been in the ministry, and he has been talking about climate financing and new instruments so that the tiger conservation can pull in some kind of new money to the conservation efforts. So over to Mr. Garg. So what is the tiger bonds that you have been writing about and also talking about? Because we have been hearing about all kinds of bonds in municipal corporations and others to finance these ongoing schemes. But tiger bonds is something new to me.
Of course, I'll come to the tiger bonds. But before that, when I joined the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change in 2018, and first time in 2018 or something, when I saw this mapping of the tigers, I was very amazed the way they have done. And mega stripe technology, the stripes, they are like the fingerprints, so they are unique in a sense. And I must also say that the forestry, the forest service, and the people who are working there, they're highly committed, and they've done the best of the job. And of course, they took me to some other countries to see the forestry practices. I must say that the forestry practices in this country are probably the best, one of the best. And there are a lot of countries which are learning from it. So one of the major items of the budget was NTCA, Tiger. And Mr. Yadav used to meet me frequently, and we used to release the budget, and it was, when I joined, it was just 350 crores. And 51 tiger reserves, now it's 53. So if you see, it's hardly any amount. And the processes of government are so complex that I realized when I visited few forest tiger reserves that at times the contractual laborers are paid up to 2 months or 3 months. There's a different angle that we put the poor man into a debt trap kind of situation because he's borrowed at a higher rate of interest. But you see, the amount which goes to the tiger reserves is not much. And recently I was reading the reports from 350 crores because of what were the processes or low utilization of the budget. It's just 250 crores now, from 350 to 250.
Now it's again enhanced.
No, 350. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, but can you imagine a dip of 100 crores in a year or two, now back to 350, and the processes are complex. And the government, because I have worked with the Ministry of Finance also, the competing demands for the budget, you have to, other departments also competing for it. And many people, and even like me who had not joined the forestry before, they don't realize the importance of the tiger as an apex predator who sustains the whole ecosystem. And we used to have long discussions how to finance it. So that time we thought of a tiger bond. Why not issue a tiger bond? That's a niche kind of a, of course you have masala bonds, you have municipal bonds, different kind of bonds. So why not to have a tiger bond, which caters just to the tigers conservation. And it's not, as Ranjit Singh ji has been saying, it's not, tiger is only the icon, it's a conservation of the whole ecosystem. So tiger bonds, what after a few studying our think tank, what we are saying is, already Government of India has issued sovereign green bonds and 8,000 crores each in January and February of this year. And you see a sub-component of that, it says it can be used for funding of the ecosystems, endangered species. So a tiger bond can be a subset of that. It can be independent, because a sovereign bond is going to be issued by the RBI, but if you have a separate bond than the tiger bond, we need an issuing authority, which can be NTCA or which can be some other agency, because you have to repay, after all, the amount which you borrow in the bonds, and the interest servicing also, one has to do that. So this is an instrument, and what I realized is there are a lot of interested investors who can invest in tiger bonds for tiger lovers, and they can invest in this, get the returns. There can be some kind of impact monitoring, impact assessment. Even if you see the green bonds issuance, then there's a whole procedure. You have to monitor how the funds have been used. So it cannot be misused for any other purpose. So that is the idea we are propagating. That, and 350 crores, I still feel, even if they get 350 crores and this complex processes, because there's a time lag of 3 months for the amount to reach there. I've seen the poor, the contractual workers not getting their salaries or whatever, wages for 2 months. So we should use this instrument and enhance the funding of the tiger reserves for the, and they're 2.4% of the total land of the country. So they are the, lungs, they are the, the ecosystems which have to be sustained. So that is what we are suggesting, and we have a roadmap, and we can assist Mr. Yadav to the issuance or tapping those sovereign green bonds, which is already.
So tiger bonds are really important, because Yadav sir may not be saying, but I can say that some of my tiger reserves in Madhya Pradesh are really looking up to NTCA for money, and they are not getting. So tiger bonds may help Madhya Pradesh as well as other states also. Over to Sejal, and now that we have understood this fact that the numbers are growing, and if the conservation efforts being done by NTCA and others, if they continue, they persist, the number would further grow, and then, as you rightly said, there will be more, there are already more tiger reserves in the pipeline. हमारा रास्ता पानी भी है, वो भी करवा दीजिएगा. गोवा में भी है, कुछ लोग मांग रहे हैं. So there is an increasing demand for tiger reserve. But what will be the scenario, Sejal, that if the numbers keep growing and the spaces keep shrinking, that is, like Mr. Yadav said, there is a rich tiger and there is a poor tiger. So those who are outside the protected areas, so where is the space, and how do we secure the future of the tigers safely? So you are working with the WWF for many years, you have got an inside view. So we would like, and you are also out of the government, and therefore you can be more frank about the future, securing future of tigers. Sejal.
Okay, thank you, Abhilashji. So first of all, I feel completely outgunned over here, sitting with 3 very senior ministry people. I don't know how frank I can be in this office gathering, but Dr. Ranjit Singh probably doesn't remember, but way back in 1989, when he was with the ministry, he gave me a small grant to do my PhD. So, and that PhD was on a cat, and that's when my interest in cats started, and it's gone on from there. And I'm so honored and privileged to be sitting next to him in this gathering. So thank you very much for inviting me. what do we do with too many tigers? So this question is now increasingly being asked. Two things happen. So I work with a global conservation organization. I also chair the global tiger sort of advisory group. And I've also worked in many countries outside of India and Southeast Asia, which are tiger range countries. So one of the things that always amazes my colleagues and friends from other countries is how on earth is India able to have so many tigers and so many people at the same time. Right, this is a mystery to most of them because many sparsely populated countries, Laos hardly have any people and has no tigers left. So this is always something that is thrown at us and we fumble for answers because it's not a single answer, right? It's a complex situation, it's a complex set of answers. One of the things that's often mentioned is this famous Indian tolerance, which yes, it does play a role, but I do not think we should take it for granted and expect that people will always happily live next to tigers. It's not easy. It's easy for us sitting in urban centers to say, yes, India has this great culture of tolerance, and therefore we have so many tigers, but if you are out on the edge there living next to a tiger and in fear for your life, that tolerance becomes very thinly stretched. So I think we need to accept the fact that this will not last forever, and we see that it's already fraying at the edges. As the conflicts become more frequent, more serious, the tolerance is fraying, and it will. So I think we need to look for the solutions of the future. There are people who talk about limiting numbers. There is talk about saying we've reached our carrying capacity. Depends on who you talk to and which tiger expert you talk to, you'll get a different answer. I think we've not yet reached our carrying capacity. I think it's important to conserve tigers for the very reasons that people on this dais have mentioned. It's not just about tigers. It's about our ecosystem. It's about our future. So the more we can invest in tiger conservation, the more places we can get, upgraded to tiger reserves, and therefore the more tigers we have is something that we have to aspire for. We've not reached that limit. Now, how do we deal with the problem of fragmented habitats, tigers straying out, the BPL tigers, all of the conversations. So one of the things that we do, civil society organizations, we don't focus on the tigers inside the reserves. That the government does very well. What we focus on is the tigers that are straying outside the reserves and the interface between tigers and people. That is the primary purpose and the primary job that we do these days. Because human-tiger conflict, human-tiger interface, whatever you want to call it, is going to be the challenge of the future in India. If we don't manage this, we are going to lose a lot of the gains because there will be increasing antagonism, there will be increasing pressure, and people will start pushing back. So we have to manage this interface.
We already have pressure, a lot of pressure.
We already have pressure, there's already a lot of conflict. So we need to do a couple of things. One thing that again, this is something that surprised me because I kind of was skeptical, is the fact that we can create smart infrastructure. It is possible, we can create smarter roads, we can create passages for tigers, and tigers do use them. So we are finding that there is a way out because India's road network is going to expand dramatically. Let's face it, and we need it. Right? Nobody says no to a good road. Even me, when I look at that road from Delhi to Dehradun and I think, oh my God, what is this road doing? I'm quite happy to reach faster. So at the end of the day, we all want good roads, but not at the cost of tiger conservation. We now have techniques, we have approaches, we have methods of trying to avoid this fragmentation of habitats through roads. So linear infrastructure, I think smarter linear infrastructure is the way ahead. And India is actually leading the way on this. Believe it or not, and I didn't believe it earlier, there are more, wildlife overpasses, underpasses, wildlife-friendly infrastructure, wildlife-friendly roads being built in India than any other country in the world today. So I think that's something that we have to continue. The second thing we need to think about is, the phenomenon of urban tigers is very interesting because we've discovered, and with technology and being able to radio collar tigers and follow their movements, we've discovered that tigers are incredibly adaptive. The habitats are gone, they're struggling, but they're still finding or trying to find a way to move between habitats through human-dominated landscapes without us even knowing it. These collared tigers are showing us amazing things of how they move through densely populated human habitats without people knowing it. If the tigers were dangerous, believe me, there would be much more conflict. But these tigers are actually, the Bhopal tigers, with very little conflict, the Pilipit tigers in the sugarcane fields. There are tigers all around us. And we are actually living with tigers. We just need to figure out how do we do this in a way that is not leading to the negative conflict. So there is this sort of tiger presence around us, and we need to see how we can actually manage the tiger presence. Giving tigers basically safe passage, whether it is under a highway or whether it is through a sugarcane field. We need to find ways to give safe passage, and if we do that, we'll manage to actually deal with that conflict.
I'll come back to you again, but there was a reference to Bhopal tigers, so I would like to inform the audience that there are at least two divisional commissioners sitting in this panel from Bhopal. Mr. Ranjit Singh sir was the divisional commissioner of Bhopal in 1984 when the Bhopal tragedy took place, and Mr. Praveen Garg much later was the divisional commissioner of Bhopal. So two Bhopal giants are sitting here. So coming back to Ranjit Singh sir, I would like to ask in the light of what Sejal has said, how many tigers are too many tigers? What should be the number? Because a lot of people are already saying that there are too many tigers and beyond that we cannot have. And I have seen, like Sejal, you said you are lucky enough to be sitting next to him. I was also lucky, I have been lucky that I have been sitting with him in the wildlife boards, and I have seen him fighting with the chief ministers for protecting tiger reserve areas, habitats, and opposing roads or maybe Betwa river linkage. So sir, the question is, how many tigers are too many tigers? In the situation in the sense that we are already the most populous country in the world, and the lands and the forests are under tremendous pressure. And like Bhopal tigers, we are coming back again to Bhopal tigers, that tigers are entering the urban areas, and there is a likelihood of conflict. So far it has not taken place in Bhopal, but elsewhere we see all kinds of conflicts between human and wildlife.
This is the price of success. The Project Tiger has succeeded beyond expectation. There were always detractors. But in 72 and 73, we were trying to save the tiger from the brink of extinction. It was 1830 or 19. And now we have this. But the habitat remains the same, if not less. And qualitatively, there is a dramatic difference. At that point of time, there were 4 tigers practically outside, possibly 9 areas. But now, just see how many tigers are there outside. It was very clear to me 40 years, 50 years that the only place where forest nature is survival of tigers would be effectively managed with the. And so I made it a life mission to establish as much as I could as forest sanctuary and to go and persuade others to do so. So probably it's the best thing one has done. Now, but you have succeeded and they are spreading out. So now what do you do? As we mentioned about corridors, we've been talking about corridors for years. But where are the corridors really going? Corridors to exist. The corridor is even more important for elephants. Because elephants cause most damage out than of protected areas in tigers. You see, the tiger is now becoming adaptive like a leopard. So there is a limit, it's 2 billion animals. And it is a dangerous animal, and what is happening is a little more. And I'm very glad Sejal is raised this point. What is happening is a little more. I'm a firm believer that neither the tiger should be afraid of human beings, nor human beings should be afraid of the tiger. But they should be mutual respect. and familiarity is breeding contempt. If they, and you have this unfortunately in tourism sector of tigers actually running past you on the road, going past, and that kind of familiarity you will have an accident because it can kill and certainly may. And apart from the factor of human danger, what about cattle plays? Where is the prey? And the future of the tiger in India will depend upon the resolving of man-animal conflict, which is increasingly more. And I would like SB also to say something about it. Because one is that we are unable to increase the habitat. Please tell me how many new sanctuaries and parks have been established in the current century, starting from 2000. Tiger habits are very rare. And as she was pointing out, those that are there will be bisected by roads and affected, and I won't go into that. So we have to live with reality. And in that context, the best way is to solve this. And one of the best things to do is to compensate people. You see, it's a very interesting thing that we are a very tolerant people. And I'll come to that. We are a tolerant people. We believe in the thing, उनका भी हक होता है. It doesn't happen in other countries. भाई उनके भी तो उनका भी तो यहाँ रहना है, वो काम करता है. That attitude is there. That is a great help. But there is a limit. You can't have your life earnings wiped out in one night by a stolen or a tiger, by a raid, and certainly they will not tolerate human killing. And this ridiculous thing about Avni, what do you do with a man-eater? You capture him and put him. The best thing is to get him out of it, either by capture or the bullet, whatever comes out. You cannot have a man-eater there. So that conflict.
Can I interrupt you about you said Avni, and I remember you have written something in your book also, that there was a man-eating tiger in Madhya Pradesh, and the Chief Minister, the then Chief Minister, Mr. Arjun Singh, wanted you to declare him the man-eater, and you resisted. So would you like to recall that incident? It's very interesting.
Yes. There was this tiger which had been driven out of Bandhavgarh by his own father, Charger. And he's young guy. And he had gone out of the thing on the way to Tala. And he was sitting there when these cattle came, and he killed bullock, the young bullock. He had wounds, and he killed a bullock. And this brave shepherd, that went to shoo him away. So the tiger left, and charged. The trouble with tigers is like the wrestler, they don't know their own strength. The wrestler also doesn't know his own strength. The tiger also doesn't know his strength. Then he picked him and killed him. And so the man in charge, the park director, phoned me, lightning called, and there was no mobile, and said, this tiger is killed. So I said, what is his background? Has he ever been nasty to human beings? Has he shown aggression? No, sir, very well behaved tiger, but he's been wounded. Then what happened? I said, after killing him, what did he do? Did he drag the body? No, sir. Has he eaten any part of it? You see, when you drag it, you have an intention of killing. He dragged instead, he went off, dragged the bullock, took it even, he ate, and when the people came to fetch the body, he left it, went away. So I get a phone call from the Chief Minister, Mr. Singh. And you heard what happened there? I said, yes, sir. And you must have declared him to a man-eater. I said, no, sir. He said, what? I said, that tiger had no intention. He's a man-killer. He's not a man-eater. So how can you say that? I said, he had no intention of eating. This happened because, and it was what distinction between a defensive aggression and an offensive aggression. He killed because he was threatened by this Arabian man. And he knocked him down, killed him, and left him without even dragging him. And went in quietly sat it. And he had no track record. And in his own voice he said, does the Forest Secretary of Madhya Pradesh require a tiger to both kill and eat a human being to be convinced that he is a man-eater? I said, yes, sir. He put the phone down on me. I told him, okay, you better watch that tiger. If he does anything funny, just tell me. Because your job and my job is on the line.
Quite interesting, quite interesting.
But it was very, very clear. There is a distinction. It's a risk, but it's a risk.
So back to Dr. Yadav, we have been talking about protected areas, tigers, that is say the rich tigers, and also about the BPL kind of tigers, the poor tigers. So is there any strategy within the NTCA or the ministry for securing the lives of the tigers moving in non-protected areas in the country? There are a large number of tigers which have been found outside the PAs.
So during 2018 estimation, roughly 30% tigers were outside protected area. But during 2022 estimation, where we announced the results or declared the detailed report on 29 July, the Global Tiger Day, approximately 26% tigers are outside protected areas.
26.
26.
Does it come down?
Come down. And some startling facts are also there. I would just like to tell upon that. While the tiger numbers have increased in central Indian landscape, Shivalik, Gangetic landscape, but there has been considerable reduction in tiger numbers in certain pockets of the country.
Including Andhra Pradesh?
Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, and northeastern states, the number has gone down. So clearly there are tiger reserves where they are up to the carrying capacity as far as tiger numbers are concerned, or there are more tigers than carrying capacity. But in the country there are tiger reserves or tiger habitat where the density is very low. So if we are talking of the management of increasing population, we need to resort to the active management. Means, like take example of Chhattisgarh, there are 3 tiger reserves, Acharak, or Udanti, Sita Nadi, Nedravati, or Andhra Pradesh, or Telangana, NSTR, or Amravati Tiger Reserve, or Jharkhand, Palamu, or northeastern states. Their tiger density is low. Why it is low? We must look into the reasons. Because ongoing poaching of herbivore population, habitat degradation, and these are the major reasons that the tiger number has gone down. So we must rectify the situation, increase the status of protection in this area, increase the prey base, maybe by in-situ enclosure or conservation, breeding, or by introduction of prey species we can increase, and then manage the tiger population. When I say active management of population, the example is Sariska and Panna. When we lost all the tigers from Sariska, we brought air-lifted tigers from Ranthambore tiger reserves and introduced there. Now they are doing good. In Panna, we brought tigers from Kana, Beach, and Pandavgarh. They are doing good. Similarly, we need to bring tigers and introduce them in other areas where the tiger density is low. And this is the way of managing the increasing tiger numbers. Not only this, we have gone ahead. There is a tiger diplomacy now. Cambodia, which lost all the tigers, we are helping Cambodia to bring back tigers. Once they are ready, with all situation, enabling environment, we will provide them tigers. So we are in the tiger diplomacy also. So the active management is an answer to the increasing tiger population. I do not call a particular number that what we can achieve or what should be the number. We have issued, the government has issued the tiger vision plan for the next 50 years, and we, in that vision plan we have said that we want to achieve a viable and sustainable population. That is our goal. We are not going to the numbers because Ranjit Singh Sir has already said that tiger protection of tiger habitat is important. If you protect the habitat, automatically the numbers will come as per the carrying capacity.
He also
So
spoke
giving
about
number is not appropriate.
So he also spoke about the protection of the corridors, and he mentioned very briefly about elephants. Now, as you know, elephants have entered Madhya Pradesh,
Yes.
and we are having a new problem on hand in the sense we never had an elephants in the wild. So now that tiger project and the elephant project are also merged, so what is the idea behind it?
So let me take first the corridors. All tiger corridors across the country, they have been identified in 2018 itself. They are very well identified and publication is already there for corridor. And corridors are protected. Now every tiger reserve must have a long-term tiger conservation plan, which is legal requirement. And this tiger conservation plan has prescriptions for core management, buffer management, and also the corridor management. So it's not that we have left corridor, we are fully aware, fully identified, fully mapped these corridors, and accordingly the prescriptions are there. So tiger corridors we are taking care of, right? And for the tiger outside protected area, the NTCA is also providing funding support. Maybe small, but depending upon the requirement, we do provide funding support. We have implemented conservation assured tiger standards, which is an international accreditation process that tiger conservation management is doing well. So we are the largest tiger rich country in the world. We have 23 such conservation assured tiger standards credited by international consortium of tiger rich countries. And we have extended this to outside tiger reserves as well. So not only tiger reserves, but there are 3 forest divisions like Lansdowne Forest Division, Ramnagar Forest Division, and 24 South Pargana. They have also been accredited with this international recognition system. And then what further question was?
This was about the key strategy.
Strategy, right? An elephant. So if you see the tiger habitat and elephant habitat, they are 80% commonality. They are overlapping. So this was the idea that to have a kind of convergence and efficiency in resource utilization. So both Project Elephant, Elephant has been merged with the Project Tiger, and that automatically comes under jurisdiction of Project Tiger. That will help. As far as elephant population is concerned, we are the largest Asiatic elephant range country in the world. The population is approximately 30,000 and is growing. Elephant corridors have been identified, and I am probably preempting that. We are going to release corridor book on identified corridor maybe on 12th of August, which is celebrated as World Elephant Day.
I believe there are more than 110.
Approximately 100. Approximately 100. There, most of the elephant deaths are happening because of train trainings. So we have identified more than 100 sites. We are in discussion and dialogue with the Ministry of Railways. They have already agreed to use modern technology to avoid train hits with the elephants, and we are working on that. But it's really a serious issue, and the issue becomes very difficult because thousands and thousands of people, they surround these stray animals, pelt stones, use firecrackers, gunshots, and all nasty behavior is there of human beings. That leads to human killing. Now, would you believe that the largest human-wildlife conflict is snake bites? Approximately 45,000 to 50,000 people die in our country because of snake bites. Just Google it and see it. The next comes elephant. Approximately 500 deaths annually that take place because of elephant. And after that, tiger and leopard approximately only 100. Oh, I am talking of no, rabies is not common. So these are dogs. You are right. Rabies would be, but measure the biggest and wildlife conflicts. Actually. So this is the situation. But we have the Government of India and National Tiger Conservation Authority with the help of Wildlife Institute of India. We have already issued guidelines. Now any developmental activities, whether it is roads, canal or anything which is taking place in the corridor is not approved. We do approve it with only mitigation measures. Recently, there was a meeting with Ministry of Railways and Honorable Railway Minister was sitting there and our Minister was there, we were also there. There is a Dipor Beal, a kind of lake in Guwahati city, and there is a railway line. And it falls just in between the elephant corridor. And more than 80 elephants that were reported moving in that corridor. And the question was, the Railway Ministry was requesting that please allow doubling the line of railway without any mitigation. And the mitigation cost of doing the elevated train line was around 800 crores. Honorable Minister of Railway said that it's costing 800 crores. Our minister responded that I will give you 2000 crore, create one elephant for me.
Very good.
So we insisted on this much of investment and Ministry of Railways agreed. So now this railway line will be constructed with mitigation, with elevated on pillars and all. So the government of India stipulates all mitigation measures for any developmental activities which takes place in the corridor nowadays. Without mitigation, no such developmental activities are approved.
Thank you. So I'll come back to Mr. Kavinder again for the issue on the financial aspect of conservation, because when we are talking about tigers, we are also talking of the co-predators and conserving forests, and it requires a lot of money. Even if the minister is saying that he can give that much money for the particular railway line, fact is that we require a lot of funding from all over, whether it comes from WWF, whether it comes from PCA, but what are the new ideas or new instruments that we have been talking about?
Just to put it in a perspective, when I joined the Ministry of Environment, Policy and Climate Change, I was shocked to see the budget. That was just 3,500 crores. And I think still it continues around that, and because of low expenditure at times, it goes below 3,000 crores. So there need to be, and when Forest Minister is demanding 2,000 crores, if he could demand from the Finance Minister a few hundred crores more, or 1,000 crores more, it will make a big difference to the conservation efforts, and it will be owned to the Forest Ministry. And I don't know why it doesn't increase, and they say that the expenditure is low. Of course, the processes are complex, and there's so many procedures to be followed. So that is one aspect. Now, as we are all facing the climate challenge, the requirement which I was reading is more than $1 trillion for the climate change mitigation. We have the greening of the infrastructure, greening of all the activities, and it required nearly $300 billion in 1 year to do that. So there is a huge gap in the resources, and you see, we are in a different kind of a situation. We are still a developing society. We are not a developed society. So we have a lot of population which is at the bottom of the pyramid, or middle of the pyramid, which is aspiring to grow. Now to increase the per capita income, to increase the levels of income without much of carbon emission, much of carbon footprint is difficult. So I think a lot of innovative instruments are required, and a lot of thinking, deep thinking is required. Because if you go by the agreements in the top, you are supposed to decrease your carbon footprint and bring it to the previous levels, but it's not possible. And the population is increasing. Still the DFR rate is 2.1, and we have 140 crore people in this country. So we require a lot of innovative instruments. That's it.
Thank you. Shajan, last question to you because we are running out of time, and I also need to open the floor for new questions to Mr. Yadav or to Mr. Ranjit Singh. So you have been visiting all the tiger range countries, about 13%, as Mr. Yadav says. There are a few countries which they don't have now tigers. So what is your experience while working in this field and seeing India from outside? When you go to Thailand, when you go to Russia, when you go to other places, and how do they look at India? And there has been a new thing about tiger diplomacy. So what kind of tiger diplomat are you?
Okay. Good question. So, it's very apparent when you're outside of India that, and you're looking at the tiger-rich countries, that the amount of effort, the amount of investment, and the amount of commitment, including political commitment, is directly proportional to tiger numbers. And you see that. So when I lived for 5.5 or 6 years in Bangkok, and I worked across Southeast Asia. So I got a chance to see, protected area management, tiger management across these countries. I hope there's nobody from these countries here. So it was very apparent that in the Mekong countries, which is Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, there was very little interest in conservation. Very frankly, the government was not interested, people were not interested. Conservation was actually something a little bit alien. They didn't really understand, because for many countries in Southeast Asia, China, especially Chinese influenced countries, anything that moves is there to be eaten. So including cockroaches. So the idea of conserving wildlife was something that actually Western donors were bringing in. So it was a very Western donor-driven concept, and as long as the donors were pumping in money into conservation, they would toe the line and they would do the conservation. The minute the money ran out, they would go back to their old ways. And it's not a surprise that these countries don't have any tigers left today. It's kind of directly related. Then you look at, I'm not going to talk about China, it's too complex. If you look at Russia, Russia was very different. Russia and Mr. Yadav knows this, they are state of the art in many ways. I was amazed at the way they monitor their tigers with the battery of video, sort of things, and all these women perfectly trained and perfectly dressed, if you know Russian women, even in the wild, they were like monitoring these tigers 24/7. And I was like, wow, why can't we have this in India? And it's no surprise that Russia has the second largest tiger population in the world after India, because they really manage and monitor and work on conservation. Then you have the countries in the middle, you have Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, middling, so there is a culture of conservation, there is a culture of protected area management, there is a culture of tiger conservation, but it's not that deeply embedded as you would see it in India. And these countries are still holding on to their tiger numbers, they're still holding on to tiger populations. Countries like Malaysia are really stepping up, and I think this is where the global impact and the peer pressure in a way of other countries has put pressure on Malaysia to say, Malaysia considers itself a developed country. And they're telling us that we don't have money for tiger conservation. Bangladesh has money for tiger conservation. Malaysia says they don't have money for tiger conservation. So I think the peer pressure on Malaysia has now made them step up, and they've set up now their first ever tiger reserve, taking a cue from India. So I think some of those countries will definitely step up. Just one thing I want to say from looking, from living for 6 years outside India, looking at conservation from an Asian lens, and then coming back to India. It was remarkable for me to see the difference in the park managers in India compared to the park managers in Southeast Asia. They do not get out of their car. That was the first thing I noticed, is that they do not, they have these fancy Toyota Hiluxes or whatever. We have nice cars too now, but 10, 15 years ago, our park managers were going around in dilapidated Jeeps, walking the walk, talking the talk, and most of these managers never stepped out of their air-conditioned vehicles, never stepped out of their air-conditioned rest houses. And then when I came back to India, I thought, okay, so this is what park management is really like, and it was so inspirational for me. So looking from out to in, we criticize India when we're outside. I used to be so ridiculous, like, yeah, they don't manage properly. But, my eyes were completely opened after spending so much time outside. I've also worked in East Africa, I've looked at African park management as well. And I have to say that the knowledge, the dedication, the passion, and the commitment of our park managers is second to none. Wow, it's amazing.
All good things out to come to an end, and I hand over the mic to Jessica for some questions to the panel. And I thank you very much, sir, all the panelists for adding value to this session this evening. And let us all make a pledge to conserve tigers, conserve forests this evening. Thank you very much. Over to Jessica.
So the floor is now open for questions. If any of you would like to ask any of our panelists any question, you can please raise your hand. Yes, sir.
I think Dr. Sejal Vora raised a very important point, saying that when foreigners ask, they say, how with a large population are you increasing the population of tigers? A very relevant question. And also Pradeep mentioned, yes, the foundation is working towards making people aware that population is a problem. Having said these two things, my question is there any survey done over the years, 1970 onwards, 50 years maybe, which shows that what is the ideal sort of the area per tiger, what are the various ideal habitats for the tiger? For example, could be a stream, could be some kind of a habitat which promotes the growth of population of these tigers. And what are those handicaps in each one of these tiger reserves which we have, which hinder the growth as such? And what are these various salient points per area and averaged out? The second question is, when we talk about tigers, what is the expectation of people? For example, you can see virtual tigers, you can see in 3D and so on and so forth. So, if only looking at a tiger or seeing a tiger was the issue, there would be a queue in the zoos to go and see a tiger. It's very easy to go and see one. So why do you need to go to a tiger reserve to see one? It's, I suppose, the thrill of seeing the tiger in the natural habitat as such. And perhaps in the past it was actually tiger hunting, actually the thrill of going and risking your life, etc., which is not there today.
So I would request you to be brief and just be ask questions. So whom are you asking? Mr. Yadav.
First point I would like to respond. We are talking of ideal scenario of tiger conservation. So based on the empirical data, the National Tiger Conservation Authority has already come out with the ideal situation, which is for maintenance of one sustainable and a viable population. We need a core area of 1,000 square kilometer to 1,200 square kilometer, an equal amount of buffer area. This is the ideal situation. Connected with corridor, it will sustain a population of 20 odd breeding tigeresses, and this will sustain a population of approximately 90 to 100 tigers. And these, if you achieve this, this is the ideal situation with where the population is always be viable. So this is the ideal situation. And for tiger conservation, the most important thing is management of water, followed by meadows or grasslands, herbivore and protection. This is the hierarchy. Second point, maybe
This is a difficult one. So, yes, people like to see tigers in the wild. People come from all over the world and pay huge amounts of money to come and see tigers in the wild. What this is doing is it's causing enormous problems for a tiger reserve. The tourism pressure that is happening around the tiger reserves, where tigers are frequently and easily seen, whether it's a corridor or a Ranthambore or a Kana, is going to actually cut off our tiger reserves from their corridors and connectivity. So we do need to find a way to manage, this expectation of people who want to see a tiger in the wild. Now I'll tell you what my thought is. I have completely turned 180 degrees from my earlier thoughts. So I used to hate the thought of tiger safaris. I thought, well, this is a blasphemy to have a tiger safari. It's a terrible thing. But I've now turned around to say, if you had a well-managed tiger safari, where people still had the thrill of going out and searching a little bit for a tiger, but it's there, it's in a large enclosure. 80 or 90% of those tourists would be happy with going and seeing a tiger in a well-managed tiger safari where they still have to search for a tiger. You won't even see the fence, you won't even know that it's there. And the remaining area, the core area, the large part of the park can be left for much lower pressure of tourism. So you can actually divide your tourism into 3 kinds of tourism. One is the tourist who goes and sees a tiger in a zoo or a virtual. The other is the tourist who goes to an area and experiences a good tiger safari and sees a tiger. And the third is the tourist who really wants to spend more time, doesn't want to just go for a day and come back, is willing to, be immersed in the area and does not create the large impact of the footprint. So we're going to have to manage this kind of tourism in a sensible way, because otherwise our tiger reserves are going to be swamped and we will not be able to manage the kind of pressure that's going to be there. So that's at least the way and this is happening. The problem is that I don't know if we'll be able to manage and create really good safaris which give people the full experience of actually being, the Duthwa enclosure, for example. You don't know it's an enclosure. You go there, you search for a rhino and you get a thrill when you see it, even though it's actually a safari. So this is my vision of the future of how to manage this enormous pressure that's going to come on tigers from people wanting to see a tiger in the wild.
So we'll take one last question due to the paucity of time. Nidhi?
Alright, so very quickly, all of us want to save the tiger, but the people who probably save it better are the villages around protected areas. And I don't know what the government is doing to, make them richer because they are next to protected areas. I'd be delighted to understand what East Africa does or what ASEAN does.
So as far as India is concerned, a lot of direct benefit out of tiger conservation goes to local people. More than 50 lakh man-days of employment is generated for the local people. There are in every fringe villages or villages which are located inside or in the fringe areas, there are eco-development committees. There are women SHG, self-help groups, and we provide funding support for eco-development activities in these villages. So we are trying that the community gets direct and substantial benefit out of tiger conservation. Sejal was talking of tiger tourism. So lot of local employment, directly or indirectly, it's generated by the tiger tourism itself. So without community support, it is not possible. And we need advocates which support, like people who support, like when the forest fire incidences. It's just not humanly possible to control forest fire unless we get support from the government. So community support is very, very important, and it is the government is paying a lot of attention to that.
Okay, Nidhi, you may ask your question. My question is to Dr. S.P. Yadav. Sir, we are talking about tiger conservation and wildlife conservation, then why zoos at all? Because it's not a natural habitat for a wild animal to be in a cage. I have seen when I visited zoo and I was a child, I didn't knew that we shouldn't support zoos at all. And it was racing in the cage itself, and they have mental issues also. That is government doing anything about it?
So the tiger reserves, there is a fixed carrying capacity. Not every one can visit tiger reserves. It's a very expensive thing. Like you need to get the permission, you have to travel a long distance into a remote area, then need permission for safari and all. So it's a pretty complicated. Well, zoo, they have become a very good education center, very good awareness center. They are living laboratory to do research on wildlife. Otherwise, in wild you cannot do any kind of experiment or research on tigers. So zoo, there are more than 8.5 crore people visit our 150 odd zoo in the country. Like kids, take example of old people, take example of Divyang people. It's just not possible for them to visit. So they are one of the biggest awareness learning center, education center. And we are talking of the zoo where now the concept of zoo is completely changed. Now they are not kept in small cages. Now the concept is they have a big enclosure, then they have a night shelter, and it's up to them when they want to be in the enclosure or shelter. Only for the feeding purpose or for the treatment purpose they are brought into the cage, otherwise not. So the concept of zoo is changing very fast. And zoo are important, as I said, for raising awareness and love for the wildlife conservation. For the people who could not visit, like Delhi Zoo, approximately 10,000 people on average they visit every year. Banarghetta Zoo, the income from the gate money is around 28 crores. So it's very popular because for the love of wildlife people want to see. Not all people can visit our national park and sanctuaries also. Therefore, zoo is important.
You will be glad to know that when Mr. Yadav was member secretary of the Central Zoo Authority, he started a scheme and which is now being implemented. I was also a member of that, of making 10 Indian zoos of world-class level. So that is being upgraded to a level. So the zoos that you visited during your childhood, or even I or many of us, were stinking and we had all kinds of problems about it. But now zoos have completely changed, and I would request you to visit Delhi Zoo whenever you get time.
So the now concept is, if you want to create, keep lion in the zoo, you have to create a kind of small ecological unit in the zoo. The natural habitat where the lion lives, if you want to bring in the zoo to create a ecological unit for the similar kind of ecology. So that is the concept now, it's changing very fast.
Okay, thank you, sir. So it's actually raining quite heavily outside, and nonetheless I'd like to invite you all for high tea, which has been organized at the Chandni Bagh, but unfortunately it's raining. And we have umbrellas to escort you all. And I'd also like to express my deepest gratitude on behalf of the Mobius Foundation to each panelist for their willingness to share their insights, research and success stories with us. Your commitment to this cause has, I'm sure, inspired countless individuals present here today and organizations. And your presence here today reaffirms our collective determination to secure the future of these majestic cats. So I thank you very, very much, and please do join us for high tea. Thank you. Thank you for being such an incredible panel. Thank you.